today we're talking about the relationship of between the East African government and its youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we are trying to analyze
Mm.
is the East African government really looking into the matters of the youth as they should? And we're
Mm-hmm.
going to be looking at it in different ways. We're going to be looking at youth
Yeah.
participation. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to be looking at are the youths involved in the policy making process.
Exactly.
We're going to be talking about the extrajudicial killings because these are things that we need to talk about.
Mm.
We're going to be talking about health matters and anything that comes along in this conversation, we're going to be talking about it.
Yeah.
So don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, Speak Up Africa, Africa
Africa
with a
with a
K,
K.
and check us out on www.speakupafrica.net.
Mm.
Again,
The,
Africa with a K.
the K is constant.
The K is constant.
Yeah.
K, it makes us unique. Anyona tuanze. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's start with participation.
Yeah.
The other day, I ran a workshop on the
Mm-hmm.
Speak Up Africa platform,
Platform. Yeah.
the speakupafrica.net
Mm-hmm.
platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking youth leaders in Kenya, and I was asking them, have you ever been involved in public participation forums?
Mm-hmm.
And get this, what do you think the answers were?
No.
No.
Mm.
The answers were yes.
You
The
think?
answers were
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
The
Okay.
answers were yes.
Mm.
They all the
Mm.
youth leaders that I had invited that day, I had invited 7.
Mm-hmm.
They all said that they have been involved in public participation forums.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, that most of the youths think that public participation forums are not for the youth.
Mm.
But these people were all youths between the ages of 18
Mm.
to, I think, the oldest in that group must have been at most 26.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Yeah.
18 to 26. So
Mm-hmm.
these are actually young people, and they
Mm.
have been involved in public participation initiatives by the government.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the departments that I had mentioned and the organizations, the Kenya WS, Kenya Wildlife Service, sorry, the Kenya Forest Service. We also had the Department of Climate Change
Mm-hmm.
and platforms like that.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the youth did say that they were invited to speak on these platforms,
Mm-hmm.
but they were not really given enough time to actually speak.
Yeah.
Some of them were invited so that they can actually reach the goal of, we invited a youth, we
Mhm.
invited a woman, we invited someone from a marginalized community.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the nature of participation in Kenya. Whether it's the youth or even the people, you're invited to actually tick a box.
Mm.
Whatever is supposed to be done, whatever
Mhm.
is going to be done, will still be done.
Mhm.
You going there or you not going there. So it's actually a question and a conversation that we really need to have.
Mm.
Whose fault is it in this situation? Is it the youth because they're not attending these public participation forums? Or is it the government because they're not structuring the public participation forums to be as attractive to the youths as possible? What do you think?
Do you know? I think the problem is the means, because it's interesting. Because for me, I think, for example, look at the policy making process, when before a law is passed and all of that.
Mhm.
Among the steps, we have the step that is public participation,
Yeah.
and this calls for anybody in the public. And this is interesting because people, I'd say, averagely, those who are over 40 are the ones who show up and bother to do anything and
Yeah.
give their opinions on whatever is being tabled. But when it comes to younger people, I mean, it's just like, it's none of our business, they'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
Tutapatana tunayo mbele. And I think this is not just, it's not an East African youth problem.
Mhm.
I think it's a worldwide youth problem, but we're
Mhm.
focusing in East Africa. And I think it's because we want things to come to us
Mhm.
and not us to go to things. And that's why I say it's the means, because we're now in a digital era,
Mhm.
and these things are being advertised on paper,
Mhm.
and just probably out there in through the leaders, when they go for a meeting else somewhere, or they contact whoever needs to reach to whoever,
Mhm.
and then they let the people know. But the youth, if you look at it now, where do they want to be found? Online.
Yeah. So.
Right? And that's why, I mean, we have platforms like this, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I don't think it's anybody's fault. I think it's the ignorance to the means is what is the problem. And because I feel like young people, want to see things, at the comfort of their homes. It just in
Exactly, and that's a
at the
problem.
palms, yeah,
Because
at
we
the
are not
palms of the.
strategically positioning ourselves for governance.
Mhm,
We complain every single day that the government has done this, has done that, but we're
mhm.
not strategically positioning ourselves for governance.
Okay.
The reason as to why when we started, you said no to public participation is because that is the idea of so many youths.
Mm,
But these ones who said yes are youth leaders. They're part of organizations that can actually be called upon when public participation is there. So while we can actually sit down and actually say the public participation structured they're not structured to favor the youth, we can also confidently say that the youth are not strategically positioning themselves for public participation.
but I just want to reiterate and say,
Mhm,
these are leaders.
mhm,
They've taken part in the policy making process here,
mhm,
because they're part of organizations that were reached out to, right?
mhm.
So why didn't they, in their organizations, reach out to their members so that all members can also participate? Because I'm confused. Why is it only the youth leaders? Why not everybody? Because
This
I mean they are our face, so to
mhm,
speak. They'll represent us. They'll speak on our behalf.
mhm.
But why can't it trickle down to even the rest who are not members?
So when I talk about youth leaders, I'm not necessarily talking about someone with a role to play in an
Mm,
organization. I'm talking about someone who's a member of
mhm.
an organization, a
Okay.
community-based organization. And so when you're a member of a community-based organization, you're essentially working with the community.
Yeah.
You working with the community means you're recognized within that community.
Mhm.
And when there is need be for a public participation forum within the community, chances of them calling you versus if you are not a member of the community-based organization would be higher.
Mhm.
You see? So my biggest takeaway from all of this would have been the youths need to strategically position themselves in platforms that allow them to actually be called upon for these
Can I
things.
ask you, are you in any
I am in
yourself?
so many.
Okay.
We could start
So
listing
have
them
you
down.
taken part in any
In
policy making
no, I
process?
have not. I
Why
have not.
not?
Because
We're
I am
talking to
not.
people like you.
No,
We're talking to.
I feel like most of these ones. Now that is where we were going to go next.
Mhm,
That it is the mandate of the government to actually call us for these things. But I am personally, I have been in many. I have been in many. I've actually even worked with the community
mhm,
in Nakuru, but I have never been involved in any public participation forum
mm,
because when they call it for the Nyumba Kumi initiatives. So they target who? The
mm.
Nyumba Kumi. You see, when you go to like
But this makes me
Uganda.
question, Uganda and Tanzania, do they have new?
Yes, yes,
They
yes.
also use
So in
Nyumba
Uganda,
Kumi.
they have what they call the village council.
Yeah.
So it's the people in the village being called upon.
Mm,
Now, if you go to a village and you're calling people upon, will you call the young men and women?
mhm,
You will most probably be calling the people that own homes, the
mm.
people just like the Nyumba Kumi initiative. The way it is
Who
structured,
said
it's the
young
same
people don't
thing.
don't own homes?
How
Oh my
many
gosh,
people
I
do you
can't
know
speak.
that own homes
You don't
before
have
the
a
ages of
you
30?
don't have a home.
I don't when I say home,
I
I
know,
mean
I know
yeah.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
When you talk about the Nyumba Kumi initiatives, for instance, when you look at it in towns,
Mm,
in urban areas, it's not as pronounced as when it is in the rural areas.
yeah.
Because uko hivo,
Because they do take village elders seriously. They take chiefs seriously.
exactly.
In the cities, it's just like people are like, I'm living my
Minding
own
their own,
life. Because in
yes.
every city, let me tell you, in East Africa,
Mm-hmm.
people have come there from whatever part of the country,
Mm-hmm.
whatever part of the region.
Mm-hmm.
They've come there to make their own life better, to either study, to work, to network, whatever. They're there for a reason. They've not come there to socialize.
Yeah.
So
So when you
when they're
start
being
bringing
called to
about,
do when you're being called to do anything that
mm-hmm.
involves, your neighbor and your other neighbor and your other neighbor, to you it's like, what business do I have to do with
I
this
personally
person
don't think I would
who
show up.
comes
I
from
don't even
whatever
know my
part of the
neighbors.
region? Yeah,
Yeah. So I think there's also the fact that this is not home, not like it would feel like home when you are back in the place where you came from. You say they come from somewhere. So like if
Mm,
for instance you come from Nakuru, so like Nakuru feels like home, and
mm.
then this feels like a temporary place. So even taking part in such participation forums becomes an issue.
You think
And
so?
also, I want you to look at the people that call for these participation forums. Kenya Wildlife Service, Kenya Forest Service, and the Department of Climate Change, based on the research I did on that workshop.
Mm,
Where is the National Youth Council?
mm,
The National Youth Council is mandated by the Constitution.
mm.
Its role upon its creation in Uganda and in Kenya was number one, to bring the youths together, to unify the youths of East Africa. Number two was to engage them in public participation forums.
Do you know that there's an East African Community Youth Council? Like the ESC has a youth council.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have they
With
done that? Have they
mandates.
unified and have they engaged us?
We're so many. We make up 65, is it 65% of the region's population. Now, it's not possible that they've reached to every single person.
They can't have reached, but have they tried
But
to reach?
yes, for sure, yes, for
Mhm.
sure. And I mean, even nationally, in each country, it's just that we'd like it to be more pronounced,
Yeah,
but it's not that it's zero effort.
we have to
Yeah, for lack.
recognize that there's actually some effort up above.
Mm,
There's some effort.
mm,
I can confidently say that the National Youth Council in Kenya has grown up a bit, and
mm,
even the one in Uganda has started to be felt. The impact has started coming to the ground,
mm,
but essentially they need to do more. They
mm,
really need to do more when it comes to unifying the youths, and
mm,
also when it comes to engaging the youths, and
mm,
also providing us with the right structures for governance. They
mm,
need to do more.
mm,
And I feel like even though I confidently said that the youths need to strategically position themselves for governance, we also need to have them actually create structures that attract to us.
mm,
A research that was done in Uganda said that most of the people do not participate in the village council
mm,
because
yeah,
they don't want to.
mhm,
The time is clashing with their day-to-day activities. Okay. Number two, they feel like even if they go there, very few people are chosen to speak. And
mm.
these people are formal leaders. Okay. So when you go there, your village elder is chosen to speak, and the village elder essentially speaks
So
on behalf of
so
all
you
of them.
speak to your village elder so that when he gets a chance to speak, he can air your concerns.
If you went there and your views are against that of the village elder, because things like that
Mm,
happens, you and I could be of the same people from the same place, but we have different views, right?
mhm,
Based on whatever reason. So
mm,
if your views are different from that, and you're not allowed to speak, then what was the use of you going there?
mhm,
So they were saying that most of the villagers say that every single time they go for a public participation, it's
mhm,
more of their sitting. And when you look at the ranks of public participation, essentially it's normally there's the point where citizen power goes at the very top and manipulation starts it all. So manipulation is when you're given information
mm,
and necessarily you're not allowed to actually use that information to make decisions. We're just telling you this is how we will do it. We are digging a dam in your area. We will dig it from this side to this side. We want maximum cooperation.
mm,
That there is manipulation. But citizen power is when you're seated in that desk and you decide, no, we don't want you to get the dam to this point because of this and that. Now, if you go to a baraza and you're sitting down and listening and you're not talking back, then that is not participation. So the structures need to be reviewed.
mhm,
It's not just about inviting people. Even the youths that the ones I'm talking about, the ones from the workshop, they all said the same thing. You
mm.
go for these things to be seen and not to be heard. Okay? We need to actually have structures of governance that allow us to be heard and not just to be seen.
But no, but genuinely, I feel like, say, if you are in a conference, for example,
Mhm,
because there's always that time allocated for anyone with an opinion, with a question,
mhm,
with anything to add.
mhm,
There's always that time allocated. If
mhm,
you don't shoot your arm up to give your suggestion or say what your concern is, then you can't be spoon fed. I'm just saying this because every time I've attended any this kind of forum in any way,
mhm,
there's always been that time. And I didn't say something because I did want to say something or I felt it's already covered. And I did say something because I want to say something. And I feel like there's no point where there's ever any situation where you're not given a chance to speak. And I'm just saying this because I feel like this is a generational problem. When you look at the youth, we like pointing fingers so much
mhm,
because we want to be given. If you look at the past,
mhm,
history has it, all the change makers of the time were young people.
mhm,
They were the youth. They were not waiting to be given, but we like to wait to be given. I know we want to be involved, and that's
mhm.
slightly different. But I can only involve you to a certain extent. Do you remember how in school we used to be told by teachers, "I'm giving you 75%, no 25%. You have to look for the 75%." It's the same thing. I mean, yes, we want more opportunities. We want to be involved. We want all of that, but we
Mhm,
also have to take it. We can't just wait to be given, because even when you look at East Africa in general,
mhm,
look at all those leaders we had since time immemorial.
mhm.
Were they old?
They
Now
were
they
not.
are. Now they're
Now
older.
they are because they have
But
not
I feel like
gone
part
home
of it is also
yet.
because now us guys are not stepping up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
because we're not.
we're not challenging
They,
anybody there. So
yeah, the other day in the office, we were talking about how the youths are so ignorant
Mhm.
of today because they do not think that it will affect them.
Mm.
So, like, let's really talk about it. The CBC that was rolled out in Kenya. Okay, so many people out there are complaining one way or the other, but you find the young people,
I am people.
you're not for it. Do you know that the government called for views?
It's and I
And
participated.
you participated. Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
And I
Makofi
did.
Kwanyona.
Yeah.
Yes. So you see now, that is how it's
I
supposed to
gave
go.
KICD my views. Yes. And they're very strong opinions. I think they should have highly considered.
So you see,
But
why I'm laughing is because I'm like, Anyona participated, and Anyona is not suffering directly. See now,
no,
that attitude.
if I will have any, my children will go through that system.
Exactly.
I will
That
be
is
the
the point
I
I am
will
trying
be a
to drive
CBC
home.
parent.
That youths
So-
like me, stupid youths, okay, stupid is a strong word, but people
Strong
like
word,
me, we
yeah.
keep ignoring things like that. I didn't participate.
I
I
did.
saw it and I didn't participate because I'm not particularly sure what to write. I can't complain, neither can I commend it because I really don't know
No,
the
you see,
process.
I don't think it's a. Let's just digress a little bit and talk about it.
Yes.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the timing is what was bad.
Okay.
Yeah,
I really can't say much about it. I really can't say much about it.
I think the timing wasn't proper.
The problem with I feel like so many youths in my shoes do not participate because we do not want to think about it because it does not affect us right now directly. But like you said, it is going to affect our children. If you're going to have any, last time we said
If we'll have
it's
them,
it's an it's a there issue. So if you're going to have children, they're going to affect our children because
I have a small sister who's going through the system. So
right now,
yeah,
has it affected
one
you
who's
directly,
completing,
though?
who's in the last batch of 844, and another one who's in the CBC system. So one way or another, I'm still affected.
Yeah.
Still affected, yeah.
So I feel like most of the youths wanakuanga na hiyo mentality. They have the mentality that we are not going to do this because it doesn't affect me right now. And we forget. I forgot.
But is that
It
a
might
youth
just
problem or
affect
is that a
me.
people problem?
It's a people problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's a.
It's a people problem.
And this is why we say I'm looking for how that saying goes. But you see, we're not solving the problem if the person who's not affected is not as bothered as the person who's affected.
Say that again.
You're contributing to the problem if you're not. You see, if you're not affected by an issue, so you're not going to participate or push for a solution or a better, way of handling of the situation because you're not affected, then we're not really solving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking for the right wording for how it goes, but that's the explanation.
I guess something like that.
Bottom line. I have the content. Bottom line.
Yeah, but you see, by the end of the day, that is the attitude that most youths have. That I'm not going to participate in governance. I'm not going to attend the chief's baras. I'm not going to do that because it doesn't really bother me. Whether they do it or they don't do it, it doesn't bother me. Whether they roll out CBC or they remove it completely, it doesn't bother me. But we forget 1 year down the line, someone has a baby. 3 years down the line, the baby's in CBC. Now you're complaining. Okay, so we should actually look at it from not just today. We should have futuristic approaches.
Yeah, we both can't speak today. Yes.
We should have futuristic approaches. We should look at it from not just today, but for the future. Now, if you're involving yourself in governance, even though it's not for you, for the future generation, sustainable development is actually taking care of today's generation with tomorrow's generation in mind. So we should actually think about the future. What will happen to them? So if we actually allow this to happen, are they going to suffer or are they going to benefit from it? And so that is something that the youth do not have today.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, I don't know if it's sometimes or if it's always, it's that I don't see it ever affecting me. It's sometimes it's not the okay,
I saw a meme
it's not
somewhere that
affecting me
said-
now. So when it will affect me, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Sometimes I feel like it's like, I don't think I'll ever have to deal with that. You see, and that's why we have so many issues when it comes to things to do with public. Like public health, public education, public blah 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 blah. Because you feel like, okay, for me, I'll just go the private way.
Yeah.
But then you get to a situation where, for example, if you are involved in an accident, you're not going to be rushed to a private hospital.
Yeah.
If we have a crisis, if we have a disaster, no one is being rushed to a private
You're
hospital.
going to have to go to that public hospital. You're unconscious. You can't even make that decision.
Exactly.
So you need to actually fight for the good health.
Sometimes we should stop looking at it. That's why I'm telling you. If you look at it from an angle of it does not affect me, so I'm not gonna be bothered, then we're not solving the problem.
We're actually not going anywhere.
But let me also let me pull you a little bit to another sector, which is unemployment, because this is our biggest wound as a region. most youths are unemployed.
Mhm.
Whose fault is it?
I wouldn't say it's the government's fault.
No, I didn't say it is. But whose fault is it? Where is the problem?
If we could start playing the blame game, I could start blaming the education system.
Mm.
But then I was really thinking about it this morning, and I was telling myself, so we keep blaming the education system. And that day, I was reading about what is the perception of people towards college education.
Mm.
Most of the people today tell people do not go to college because I mean, even if you go to college, you're not going to get that job.
Mm.
So you just teach yourself the soft skills that you need to teach yourself, and then use those skills to propel yourself in life.
Mm.
Then the question becomes, do we go to school so that we can get a job? Or do we go to school so that we can learn and actually have the skills necessary to survive in this world, job full or jobless? Job
You
full.
know, we were taught. I think I mentioned this previously.
Yeah,
We were
you've
taught,
said this
we
before.
were taught, education is the key to success.
Key to success. Yeah.
But the problem is, I think the definition of that success,
Mhm.
because that padlock changed. We still have that key, but the padlock changed. Yeah,
It's not working.
it's not because we were told, and like I said, you were told, you're born, you're taken to school, go to school all through to college, get yourself a job because you're educated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Then,
and it's
then
not
after
going
you
like
get, and you see the cycle continues. Get a job, get a house, get a partner, get kids, take them to school, let them get an education, let them get a partner, let them get a house. And the problem is that we were being told it's a key to success, and I feel like um people say don't go to college because you will not get a job even after having the papers, because we were taught you need that to be able to survive. But what I think was missed, that was the definition of that success, because I'd say school is important, school will always be important, but you're going to school for the knowledge.
Mhm.
You're going to get that knowledge. No matter where you're going to apply it,
And the
you're getting the
exposure and the
knowledge. How
interaction with
many
other human
people do not
beings.
work in their fields of study? Where, you studied, I don't know, maybe journalism, and
Me.
now you're employed elsewhere.
Mhm.
You studied maybe education to be a
Law, let's
teacher.
call them the lawyers, and now they're journalists.
Stop pointing fingers at me. You studied to be a teacher,
Mhm.
and now you're, I don't know, a farmer. That
A
education.
politician.
Yeah, that education is just to give you knowledge, because trust you me,
Mhm.
you can always tell the difference, no matter how successful when it comes to financially someone is.
Mhm.
You can always tell the difference, someone who went to school and got the knowledge, and someone who didn't, or
Who
went to
someone
school
who
and
didn't, yeah.
didn't get go there to get the knowledge. You can always tell, because these skills will always be applied somewhere in life.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
And that's why you don't have to work in the field that that you studied for. Your career can come from something totally different, but the knowledge that you got will still help you, in whatever you're doing. And you can always expound and be like, okay, now I'm doing this, now I can try to learn more about this. Not try, but now I can learn more about this. But if you went to school, or if we still stick with the mentality that, you see, I have to, get a job in this particular field that I studied, first of all, you're gonna suffer.
Mhm.
Yeah, because now look at the number, look at our population as a region is constantly growing,
Mhm.
and I don't think there's ever going to be a time
Mhm.
where it's going to decrease, like, hey, it's going low. No, I don't think there's ever going to be such a time. But when we were being told, and if you go back to maybe even when our parents and their parents were in school, jobs were there. There were sufficient opportunities for everybody.
Mhm.
And if you went to school, you must get a job.
Yeah.
And you
It
will
was
get a job in
automatic.
your field of study. But now, how many hospitals are there? And how many healthcare workers do they want? Don't get me started in the understaffed, facilities here and there
Mhm.
within the region. But how many do we have against the number of graduates?
Mhm. Yeah.
How many universities are in the region? Way so many.
How many are producing
They
healthcare
have
workers?
graduates yearly.
Mhm.
So you look at, we say, this is a hypothetical number because I don't know the exact number, but say we have 50 schools in the region, and we have 50 universities, right? And
Mhm.
out of the 50 universities, they have produced 5,000 teachers,
Mhm.
graduates. in 1 year.
Mhm.
How will the 50 schools be able to accommodate all of them? Do you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's yearly. So they have to find opportunities elsewhere. But it doesn't mean the education they got in school now is useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
it's
because
important for people to actually listen to that and deeply. It's not just about the jobs or anything. It's the
it's not.
exposure. It's the knowledge that you get. It's
It's the knowledge.
the experience that you get from going through that institution of higher learning. You know, people get husbands from there. So if if anything, if you're not going to come out with something, at least try and come out with a mate for life. Yeah. Come out with friends, connections. Okay. Some of the people that I call out today when I actually need to have a discussion about something are people I met in school, are people I met through people I met in school. You see? So those organizations, those platforms, essentially we need to change our attitudes and our perceptions. That's what I thought about this morning. I was telling myself, maybe it's how we think. We think that because we went through this curriculum, we are supposed to get out of it and get a job. But really, we need to change our mindset because no matter how they structure the education system, the jobs are not there.
Mm.
Whether it's 26456 or it's 844, the jobs are not there. Okay. So really in this case,
2732.
that was
Is
CBC.
is it 273? No. Ah, no. CBC is 2663.
The Ugandan
I'm talking
education
about Uganda
system
and
was
Tanzania.
two
It's
two seven.
yeah,
It started
two
with
six.
seven,
You see, the six is divided. It's four and
seven,
two,
four, and then
three.
two. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
742
742 3. This is
higher education.
university.
Yeah, the six is the O level and the A level.
Oh, it's they have the O levels and the A levels. That
Yeah.
was that was also the Kenyan system previously.
Yeah,
before.
what was the Kenyan system is still similar to what is
In
currently
Uganda.
in Uganda. What was the Kenyan system before the 844? The education system is similar to what still is in Uganda and Tanzania.
So before we get to dissecting the education system, I think it's important to actually tell people to change their attitudes and perceptions. By the end of the day, it's not about getting that job, it's about getting everything else. A job is a plus. It could come, it could not come, but that perception needs to change.
What should we do if it doesn't come? Because we want to be employed. So what should we do if it doesn't come?
Hey, you have to look for that money somewhere, somehow. You have to look for that money because who's going to pay your bills? So here's where
Nobody.
entrepreneurship comes in. This is where coming up with trying to fill the need gap in society comes in. And you be innovative. I can't help you. I'm also suffering. You just be innovative. Try your
Yeah.
best, be innovative. But I think we really, once we change that attitude and perception, you'll find out more people are actually willing to actually think for themselves. Because once you know that this is not going to come from this, then where is it going to come from? You will be able to answer that question once you know. But if you're fully relying that I'm going to finish and then I'm going to get a job, you will, number one, end up going for what you don't want. You'll end up becoming a teacher and you don't want, because teachers will get jobs. There's that attitude outside there that teachers are going to get jobs. So you just become a teacher because you're going to get employed eventually. And then you become a teacher and you don't want to become a teacher. So you become a terrible
A teacher is
teacher.
actually a good profession. I've considered it before.
It is a good profession, but for someone who can't become a teacher. So for someone who can't, for someone who's not a good teacher, we are relying and we are placing a generation's future on your hands. And it's something you didn't want. You just went to it because you wanted a job. It starts to, bring about
But
societal problems.
is that not what most people do? Think about it. People are blessed in courses. People don't, you choose like six. You choose about six. And you see, those are just sometimes that you only have the one that you want, and then you pick the 2, 3, 4, 5 to fill
What I have to say about
fill
that,
the papers, because if I don't get what I want, I have to pick something else that would either place me strategically when it comes to career space, or something that will
it's
guarantee
always
me
career
money,
space and money.
will
It's
guarantee me
always
money,
career
or will
space and
guarantee me
money.
you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
most people don't actually study what they want to do. And that's what I'm telling you. You do not have to practice because you get it for the knowledge. You go and get that for the knowledge. But there's also
I
the
think I'm
risk
saying
of
that if you change your attitudes, that it's not supposed to get me, this one will not necessarily give me the biggest money. It's not going to give me that career. I want everything, and that's nene. You will end up actually making the right choices because your choices are not dependent on the future, the aftermath of going through the 4-year course or the 3-year course.
But you give a very good example where you said, so you've become a teacher because you believe deep down that as a teacher you will not lack a job. You will not, what we like to call in the Gen Z language, tarmac. Oh, the millennial language as well. To tarmac, you'll not tarmac. So then you become not good at your job.
Mhm.
And so therefore people who go through your hands, and my biggest concern when it comes to this is just when it's the health sector,
Mhm.
because you're
It is.
gambling with people's lives. But I don't think, okay, cool, let me continue with your example. So then you become not so good at your job, but you need it.
Yeah, so you keep
So
doing
what
it.
happens? You want this person to finish, get that paper and become not so good at their job, but then study for what they now want to become and then practice that? Because I'm confused. You lost me somewhere.
No, I am for the idea that if we actually change our perceptions and our attitudes towards school and the
Mm.
education system, we will be able to choose our courses and to choose what we want to do with our lives without really thinking about it like that. Like for instance, someone will not become a doctor because it makes big money or because they are sure they'll get a job. Someone will become a doctor because they want to become a doctor. You get in this situation. You look at yourself and you evaluate your life and you're like, I want to become a doctor. I want to become a teacher. Not because teachers will eventually get employed in a country like Kenya, but I want to become a doctor. I want to become a teacher because I love teaching. The art of teaching is in me and I enjoy it. You get? So my idea is our perceptions and our attitudes should simply change. And our conversation today was on the relationship between the government and her youth. And we should actually analyze the education system. And I was thinking about it this morning. Hey, I have said that so many times.
It's okay. You had so many thoughts
I
this
was I was
morning.
thinking about the education system this morning, and I was thinking the people are against CBC, and the only reason the government came up with CBC is the rate of unemployment. So they wanted to actually give these young people the soft skills. Okay, implementation is another story. I see that you're looking at me.
I'm just like,
I see that you're looking at me, but the idea behind the CBC and the idea behind the education system in Uganda and Tanzania at the same time is that we are giving these people enough skills so that when they go out there, this doesn't work, this one could always go. If this one doesn't work, this one could always go. And also exposing people to a field, an array of skills, enables one to actually recognize where their niche. You said it's niche,
yeah, it's niche.
where their niche is, you know? And so when you once you recognize where your niche is, you're able to explore in that field. That was the idea behind this education system. But people will always have a complaint. So they had a complaint about it before it was rolled out. And now that we have had it all of these years, we are still complaining that it's not giving us jobs and everything like that. But I think the jobs are just not there. The jobs are not just that. You need to create that job for yourself. So you need to go through the education system knowing that I'm here to learn, gain knowledge, to survive in the world, to get to be successful in one way or the other, not necessarily by getting a job.
Do you know, it's interesting because I also think that jobs are actually there. I think what the problem is, or what the jobs that are not there, are the nature of jobs at the back of our heads, the white collar jobs
The
that people
traditional
want.
jobs.
Yes, yes. The very convenient to people, eight to
Mhm.
fives, you know, suit and tie, officially dressed in your heels and whatever and whatever.
Mhm.
But jobs are actually there. That's what I think. It's not, maybe it's not sufficient for everybody, and we can't say everybody can be employed. But I think when people are talking about the lack of jobs, they're talking about the white collar. Is it white collar or blue collar? White collar jobs.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I think is
So
not there.
we,
Yeah.
we we have the school system continuously encouraging the traditional setup of jobs and the
Now
white
that's a
collar one.
problem. Now that's a problem. And it's
Mhm.
not even just schools. I feel like it's also parents. It's a society thing.
It's a society thing.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the relationship between the government and her youth, um, and I say this, please just
Mm.
is the government to blame for the fact that the youths are unemployed?
No.
Is the education system to blame for the fact that the youths are unemployed?
No.
We can agree on that.
It's a you
It's a
thing.
youth thing. It's
It's a,
really a youth thing.
yeah.
It starts by changing your
I'm not
mindset.
saying they don't have a part to play.
They
They do
definitely
have a
do.
part to play. But it's not, you can't blame somebody else for you lacking a job.
Yeah,
Is what I'm saying.
yeah.
You can blame someone else for when you go to hospital and you're manhandled, you're not properly taken care of, and you're paying for the services. If you took your child to school and they failed to, the teacher didn't do ABCD, if those things, you can. But when it comes to you not having a job,
Mhm.
it very much is a you problem. No one else will be as concerned as you who is in that situation. And not because it's entirely your fault,
It's
but
not
you need
entirely your
to
fault, but it's also a
just
you
need to,
issue as
yeah,
well.
it's,
It's
yeah,
not always every other person's fault. It's
it's not
also
entirely
you.
your
It's
problem.
also a you issue, and we need to expound our
Mm,
definition of a job,
mm,
because people just think that jobs are, like you say them. There's that traditional definition of a job, and we have that in our minds. It's there. We are still part of this society, even though we want to point fingers at the society. We're still part of this society. So changing our mindset, we need to start from there. It's
mm,
not the government's fault. It's not the education system's fault. It's not even the world's fault.
mhm.
That's how things are. Mwendo vitu
Definitely.
ground ziko. And it's
Yeah.
it's sad, but it starts from you. It
Mhm,
starts from you. It definitely starts from you.
mhm. But I'm going to ask something else. Um, as the youth, or is it youths? I battle that a lot in my head. Does youth have plural, or a plural, or doesn't it have? But anyway, how can they help each other to grow each other, as as an edge set? Because, first of all, youth runs from, I don't know, what is it, 15 to 35, or is it 18 to 35,
15.
right?
Mhm,
So there's 15 to 25, and there's 25 to 30.
mhm.
So what can we do to help each other or build each other up? I really want to know what you think about that, because how they say, a stranger is not going to come to your home and help you. You're the ones to help each other or help yourself out of a situation. And not that there's a stranger as such in this case,
Mhm.
but there is persons who are more directly affected than others. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I
So,
get what you mean.
yeah.
I think the first thing would start with mentorship. We have
Mm,
those people who have actually made it. Those ones that can confidently say it's your you problem, it's not a me problem.
mm,
And then now we have the people that are actually there saying, it's everybody's else fault.
mm,
We need to start by mentoring each other. Actually, take a moment to tell that
mm,
person, this is what you can do. This is how I
mm,
actually
mm,
navigated the hard economy. This is how I actually navigated the world today, because it is difficult. Okay,
mm.
so whether you do whatever you do, because today there's so many opportunities online. Whatever it is that you do,
Sorry.
tell your sister, tell your
Mm,
brother. Take a
mm,
moment to actually tell them when you go for these workshops and you're driving your Mazda Demio at 22. Tell us, where did you get the money? Because I do you know someone who knows someone, yeah? When there's an opportunity at your workplace, I mean, take a moment to actually spread it out there, because
mm,
you might actually get someone who has the exact skills that
mm,
are needed for that. And it is essential for us to actually, if you can, create organizations for mentorship.
mm,
Mentorship is key. It makes a lot of difference, because someone is able to get challenged through you. Even though you've actually accomplished something really small, take a minute to mentor someone. We're going to build ourselves. If we don't build ourselves, no one is going to build us. You're not going to find that person who is over 40
mhm,
coming and wasting their time on you.
mhm,
They had that opportunity to do that when they were 35 and younger, but now that they're over there, they have to deal with other issues, start
mhm.
planning for retirement and other things, because Anyana said retire at 60, so you only have 20 years to figure that out, and someone wants for you to babysit them. You see, it becomes
Yeah.
an issue. But we have young people who have actually become so progressive and successful in this economy. In East Africa, we need you to actually
Mm,
mentor.
mhm,
Okay. And then when there are opportunities for the youth, when you're part of the National Youth Council and things like that, just call us
mm,
out. So
mm.
the youth leaders that I was saying were involved in public participation, like you said, why did they not tell their team members? You should be inform these people. So by the end of the day, all of us can actually have the story of, I was involved. I just didn't have anything to say, because everything that I needed to say was said.
But I had a chance to
But I
learn, and
had a
and and
chance,
and to
yeah.
get to hear what
Even though
other
it was
people
just the
think.
manipulation that I was there to hear, I had that opportunity. So we can stop this narrative of I didn't, and yet someone who's exactly close to you did. You get? So we need to actually push each other, mentor
Mm,
each other, and tell each other about the spaces. Then there's this thing of Build Kenya. Okay, let's say East Africa, okay?
mm,
So build East Africa by buying East African.
mm.
Build East Africa by buying East Africa.
Do you know that something?
Young people are
Oh,
continuously coming up with innovative things.
mm.
Your next door neighbor is buying washing machines and selling them. You're importing them from China directly. What is wrong with you? That is just my view.
Trust, man. And I'd be defensive and say, man, you have to tell me though. Okay, no, cool. But myself, if I go to a supermarket to buy stuff, I give priority to local manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
If I just see it's made in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, I'm probably gonna buy that as opposed to something that is written there made in, okay, I don't want to mention countries, but yeah.
Yeah, so but that's the idea. We need to
I give
build each
preference
other.
to local manufacturers. But this also makes me just want to question. We have seen so many products that are locally made, but when we check their prices against prices of things that are being imported, sometimes it's like, why is this so expensive? And of course, I understand you want to make money. I understand you've put in so much into that, but also from my perspective as a buyer, I'm also trying to protect my pockets, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
the economy is tough. So then what do we do?
Well, number one, you have to start by understanding that small business cannot run with the same input amount as a mass
That's true.
production
That's
business.
true.
Number
That's
one, yeah.
true.
So, for
But
instance,
if
if
it's
I buy a
ridiculously,
bottle,
you see, if I'm buying something and it costs 300, and then I know someone that is making it and it costs 450, I'm probably gonna sacrifice and be like, okay, cool, I'll add the 150.
but when it's double,
I bought this from a friend who runs a business, man.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, but
So,
when like I feel like the prices they're quite
but if it's
discouraging. It's not a
if the
lie.
market price is 300 and you're selling it to me at 1850, 1850, I
Mhm.
mean, I
Eh.
mean,
No
I'm trying to
offense.
keep up with the economy, you see?
Yeah, it
And
becomes a big
yeah,
issue.
yeah. Sometimes when people are failing to support locally sourced, locally produced
Mm-hmm.
products, you
Mm-hmm.
find it's that sometimes it's the prices.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the prices because I'm more likely to, if I know this company is in Uganda, it's in Tanzania, it's in Kenya, I know I can make a complaint and it will get to you. I know I can reach you. I know I can walk to that that factory or whatever, or when you've put your location there on the product, I know I can say, hey, I can easily reach this person and complain
Mm-hmm.
or give my feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's, I don't know in which continent, I don't have an avenue to directly, give my feedback, or, at least make it easier. And that's why we'd like to go to things that are within our reach.
Yeah.
But also, if it does not protect my pockets,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to need to be the one to protect my pockets. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
So
definitely get what
we
you're
just have
saying.
to find a bridge
You have to
somehow.
find the middle ground in
Yeah.
that. But it also goes down to what kind of music are you listening to? Most
Music.
Kenyans don't even listen to Kenyan music. They don't listen to Kenyan music. Okay, so you are you saying there's not even a musician that fits your category of listening for music and things like that? I
Mm.
mean, you have to know that for you to actually belong to a place, you have to be fully patriotic to that place. So that's something else. How are the youth going to lift each other up? By being patriotic to themselves, okay?
Mhm.
There are people who have I don't listen to bongo.
Do
Okay, it's
you
fine.
listen to Ugandan music?
Yes, I do.
Name one Ugandan
Winnie
artist.
Noaji.
Name
She's my
another. I love her
favorite.
too. Tanzanian. I'm putting you on
Really?
the
You
spot,
want me
man.
to start naming all the bongo artists I listen to? My dear.
Kenyan.
Ah, now I am a
I'm
home
putting you.
person.
I'm putting you on
You
the
want me to,
spot.
to to start naming them as well. I listen to local music. I listen to all of them. I'm the
Okay.
now and then, or the soul music, or
I
whatever
do
music it
listen to
is.
African music a lot, by the way.
You see, now when you say African, we start
Yeah.
looking at you funny because African could be all the
On
way
the
to the south
yeah.
or just up there to the west.
No,
We know
I start with East African. I
it's always
probably
East African.
actually
Yeah.
I think of all the people I know, I'm probably the one who listens to the most East African artists.
Yeah. So we
Proudly.
can't have our business, yeah, our small business people complaining that they're not getting markets. Yet you're for the same prices.
Yeah.
Here's the worst part. For the same prices, you're shipping it out there. So what is it that exactly you're trying to pass on? That our content or our work is not good enough. You find someone getting an interior designer all the way from South Africa.
Why would you do that though? You don't.
Do you not
You
even
don't
value
have
your
your
money?
people.
Because I'm pretty sure that person will charge
We
even
see
more.
you.
Why would
Yeah,
you
that's what
do
I'm
that?
saying. Like you don't even.
Yeah, you need to actually you need to place value in
No,
your
I think
home
what we're
first.
saying is just support each
Yeah,
other.
support.
East Africa for East Africans.
Yeah, East Africa
Oh
for
no,
East
East
Africa.
African for East Africans. I don't know what I'm saying.
East Africa for East Africa.
For East Africans. East Africans for East Africa.
Yeah, what she
English
said.
left the chat.
What she said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's look at it from a different perspective.
Mhm.
Ever since we started this conversation of the relationship between the youths and the East African government,
Yeah.
we have talked about it in some sort of way to favor the East African government. We have called out the youths for
Really?
we really have called out the youths for not taking up entrepreneurship opportunities. We've told them to change their mindset when it comes to education. We've told them to support each other. We have said take part, position yourself strategically, and all of that. But then let's talk about something that I don't really know if we can favor this side over this other one. We are really in between in this one. The extrajudicial killings in East Africa.
Mm.
I don't know. We start from Uganda. You remember the elections, the previous elections in Uganda?
Yeah.
The social media was off. The freedom of
Yeah.
expression had left the chat. It
Freedom
was
of
gone.
expression. What's happening?
What-
That's a fundamental human right that should not be taken
It
away.
should not be taken away, and it was taken away just like that. Facebook was banned.
No
You're not supposed to
internet.
access it. No
Mm.
internet. What kind of life is that? Honestly speaking. And you see, when we talked about in the last episode, you said that we are the majority of the majority. Okay, that is, you talked about unemployment, but in this case, we're still the majority. In Uganda, the youths are also the majority. So that means that the government was not for.
Mm.
It was not for the youths at that time. It was definitely not. Because how do you, and then all of, most of the civil societies in Uganda at that time were done away with. Their processes were banned. Say that we are not even giving you an explanation. It is done and it's done for good.
Mm.
That is freedom of expression is a fundamental human right. It should not even be a conversation.
Mm.
It should not be a conversation.
Mm.
Then we come down to Kenya, and then we have killings every now and then. We have the Embu brothers, the Kayole. There's almost every town, every county has a group of people that went down in history, and those ones are the ones we recorded, the ones we know of. How about the ones we don't know of?
Mm.
Where is who is taking care of the youths if we are getting killed and massacred like that?
No, I mean it's a real problem. It's a big problem. I feel first of all there is some sort of marginalization or some there's this concept in, and this one I just like to point it to pretty much the older generation. If you are a young man, you have locked your hair, you have tattoos, you wear, I don't know, ripped jeans,
And
then
so
you-
many
then you're
journalists
just
have called
you're-
that out.
yeah, and then you're just you're a gangster, you're a
Yeah,
threat to
yeah.
society. We need to get you out of the streets. I mean, it's a real problem. And I'm just going to be honest and say sometimes you'd even be walking in the streets, and especially if you're working with the category people who look like they fit the category, you just be stopped by, I mean, policemen. Sometimes even older people are looking at you like, they clutch their bags and all of that.
And they look at you
And
like
I
you're-
mean, crime is something that is on the rise.
it
that's for
is, it
sure.
is.
But anybody can be a criminal.
But that doesn't mean that everybody is.
Yeah, no, anybody can be a criminal, regardless of their age, regardless of how they look like. It's not a it's not like if
It's
you
not an age
it's
group.
it's not a hairstyle thing that if I keep locks then I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal, or like if or a fashion thing that if I love ripped clothing then I'm a we really should be scrutinizing the matter to actually find perpetrators of crimes, and not just stereotype.
Yeah, so most
like-
of the young people today have started community-based
Because
organizations.
a lot of extrajudicial killings have to do with
Based on the reports that the police
stereotypical type
based
of
on the reports that the police have written, it's basically these people are gangsters. They were armed, things like that, even though they were not. So it's perception and stereotypical, as you had actually mentioned it. It's the thought that this person is a criminal,
Mm.
or the lie
Mm.
that this person was a criminal, because sometimes it's also like you just rubbed police off the wrong shoulders and they decided to end your life, and then now they write down in their report that you are criminal or something like that, because that is something that has actually been seen. In our community, in a cleanup one time, we were having a conversation, and this guy was telling me that you see that white vehicle.
Mm.
If you see it, don't even just stand where you are. Make sure your hands are not in your pocket or anywhere, because these guys are just, they're weird. They come collecting people, and then they get into Savo and they
Mm.
come out on the other side.
Mm.
And so when they were getting in, they have like two other people in the car, and then when they get out, they in his words, lions were meshiba.
Mm.
Honestly speaking, and that person goes missing and missing and missing. And we have so many people going missing. So many reports. A report that was published by All Africa was saying that in like Mombasa, we had like for a period of 1 month, 29 young people went missing
Mm.
like that.
Mm. Mm.
You arrested. They said they arrested you. They came for you in your own house, arrested you. You were not taken to any police station. You went missing. Next
Mm.
thing, your body
Mm.
in the rivers.
Yeah.
Is that really the future we want?
No. I mean, I think we need to step up our game as a region and just step up
Who
in
is
general.
we in
First
this
of all,
situation?
everybody, because who came up with the stereotype that people who look a certain way are criminals? Do you think it's the police officers alone? No, I think even you. Let me just tell you, if you were working at night and
My blue
not
hair.
so dark, yeah, no, not you as the criminal. I'm talking.
Mhm.
I'm talking about you're working. Say not so late in the night. Say like 9 p.m. and then you see three young men, and they have locked hair. They're wearing maybe ripped pants.
You're putting me
They're
in the
sagging
spotlight.
their. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a society problem.
It's a societal thing.
Yeah, when I say we, I'm talking about all of us. We really do need to step up our game, because I mean, if I'm a criminal, I know that if I look a certain way, then people are going to automatically just think of me in a certain way. Then I'm not going to look like that, but I'm still going to be who I am. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think we just, because once someone is killed,
Mhm.
they're dead. We're not supernatural. We don't have the ability to give you a second life
Yeah.
or something of the sort. So we just need to do better
Yeah.
to end these things. And I mean, even police officers need to do their job better.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of people who've even gone missing. I'm not talking about even in police custody, just out there. In the cases have gone cold for years.
And it's going. Why is it not decreasing? And a report that was published, I think it was also by All Africa. They said in 2021, Kenya had the highest
Mm.
extrajudicial killings
It happens
ever.
all the
Like, it
time.
was recorded.
It happens all
ever.
the time.
It's supposed to be
And
decreasing
especially
right now.
yeah, and especially during electioneering periods or right after, it's bad. It's bad. For example, even in 2017 when we had our elections, even when Uganda had their elections, we always have these cases on the rise. And it's like, why? Why do we have to be there as a region? That's not a forward move. That's really taking us back to the Stone Age. We don't have to kill each other, and I'm not even talking about like tribal clashes. No, don't get me started on that. But like, why is it that people have to lose their lives every time it's an electioneering period? Our economy, first of all, just becomes dilapidated, and then people are dying and all of that. We need to do better as a region. No, seriously.
I think when we say we in this particular situation, I need
I'm
to
talking
call
about
out
all
the
of
whole.
us.
I need to call out the judiciary. But you need to take charge.
I'm talking about all of us.
I am particularly, as Wangeshi, I'm just saying, you need to take charge. We can't have such statistics published that even as we go ahead, the extrajudicial killings, now that we know they're there, that there's so much awareness that these things are happening.
No, but when you say
that
the
it is actually-
judiciary, those are like pretty much layman language. Those are the courts.
Yes.
They can't take,
Yes.
you can't take over.
You
a
can't. You know
case.
what the problem is.
Let me tell you.
what the problem is and why I'm calling out to the court and not necessarily to the police. I'm calling out to the court because the problem is when these things go back to the court, nothing happens to these people. Okay, we have had situations where there was actual witnesses, eyewitnesses that went and said, this is what they said to them. Walisema laleni, and then to amalize. Now they were shot. And there were people there that witnessed it. And these people have not been accused of any particular thing. The ones that were shot, they were not accused of any particular thing. What happened to the police people?
But let me tell you, I don't think, no, genuinely, I don't think it's
There's
a judiciary problem.
There's a lot of corruption that is happening in our judiciary.
Because, especially for a criminal case, it must be beyond reasonable doubt. People have been sent to prisons because it wasn't beyond reasonable doubt. And you have to spend the rest of your life there. It must be, you see, this is the thing. They cannot use circumstantial evidence. They cannot. Like it must be factual. It must be by the way, clearly,
Yeah.
there is no doubt that ABCD happened.
Mhm.
And this person must go in.
Mhm.
Yeah. And also if the courts have worked with facts.
Yeah.
I'm not defending, I'm not saying
You're
that
not
there's
saying that,
cases
yeah.
where
Mhm.
we've been questioned like, hey, how did so and so be prosecuted for ABCD crime or be convicted? You know? But for most cases,
Mhm.
their hands are tied. No, genuinely speaking, because it's a hierarchy. It begins from the bottom.
Well, if you say
It
so.
begins from the bottom.
I can't argue with the fact that the
First of all, if there's
the
no
evidence
case,
cannot
then
be
they
circumstantial.
don't take. Yeah, they have nothing to take up.
But we really need to come up with a system. I feel like for me,
Mm.
that angers me because I can't imagine someone just going down
Mm.
like that. You're minding your own business and then you go down like that. And like, what do you think we can do as the youth structurally reduce the amount of extrajudicial killings that are happening?
No, I mean we've tried we've had petitions in the past. We've done, we've complained here and there, pushed, we've picketed on the streets. But what I can say is that every single institution just needs to do their job and needs to do it well, 100% perfectly.
Okay.
Because if someone is killed, someone must go down for that. You know, you do the crime, you have to serve the time.
But do they serve the
Period.
time? Or are they just out there still killing?
Because the problem is, we can point fingers and say, it looks like so and so did it. But if we cannot prove that so and so did it, so and so
Then
cannot
we're
go
just
down for it.
we're
It's
just
just
blaming
noise.
someone who's not guilty.
It's just noise.
Yeah.
Because presumption of innocence. Yeah. Innocent until proven guilty. If you don't prove you guilty, then
And that is why we have this podcast. So we can actually put forward both sides of the coin.
yeah.
That yeah, these things are actually happening, that they're on the ground. But until you actually can prove that this thing happened to this person by this person that you're saying
If you can't prove it,
didn't happen. It's as
no,
simple
I
as
mean
that.
it happened. If someone is dead, they're dead. So that happened. But if you can't prove so and so did it, you're just making noise. Yeah.
Just making noise.
And we've been speaking for so long, so we don't have a choice other than to wrap it up at this
Mhm.
point. So I'm going to shout at you until you actually do it. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Speak Up Africa. The K is constant. Speak Up Africa, Africa with a K. Yeah, my name is Anyona Bulungu.
My name is Wangishika Remy. Don't forget to join the conversations on our platform www.speakupafrica.k.net. The K is constant. And we will see you next time in our other episode.